Oh, this is the music that makes me dance. I add 2 and 2, the most simple addition, then swear that the figures are lying. I'm a much better comic than mathematicians, 'cause I'm better on stage than at intermission. And as far as the man is concerned, if I've been burned, I haven't learned. I know he's around when the sky and the ground started ringing. I know when he's near by the thunder I hear in advance. His words and his words alone are the words that can start my heart singing. And his is the only music that makes me dance. He'll sleep and he'll rise in the light of 2 eyes that adore him. For him it might, but he won't leave my side for a glance. In every way, every day, I need less of myself and need more him, more him. 'Cause his is the only music that makes me dance. 'Cause his is the only music that makes me dance.
Nice work. So what have you been working on with this?
Definitely adding more chest in my mix is
Yeah.
what I want. So,
You want to do that? All right, well, we can do
Let's
that.
do it.
Good. Are you wanting to be able to belt the ending stuff then full out the whole last couple pages, or you wanting to kind of
I would love to just mix it, but with more
more oomph?
more umph. to
Let's
it.
do it. All right,
Yeah.
go on over to the spot.
Okay.
We're gonna vocalize and just kind of work from there. Okay? So the first thing I always do when somebody says they want more meat to their mix is to see where their chest voice is at. Right? What chest voice does is it brings the vocal folds together into a more thick position while also pushing them together slightly more firmly. Okay? We have 4 muscles within the larynx that are always playing around with the vocal folds. We have the cricothyroid muscle, which is making them longer to give us high notes. We have the thyroid arytenoid muscle that's resisting that pull so that we can stop pulling and land somewhere in the middle. It also helps us get our low notes. When that TA contracts, it also thickens the folds a little bit, which gives us a little bit more compression at the vocal fold level, which gives us more harmonics. But then we have this inner arytenoid muscle and the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle that are really responsible for that medial compression, how firmly these guys are close together. And a lot of times if we're struggling with our mix, our body just hasn't associated yet that it can use those muscles to suck those guys together. So if we start in the bottom end, we can start building that connection in our mind, and then we can start to use that in the middle. Okay? So the same, just really strong. That's quasi there. Do it again. That's there. You guys hear that difference? Right? This is the really connected place. Do that again. Good. Keep your vowels bright for now. There you go. Just trying to mix already? Yeah, keep it in that chest. Yeah. Just trying to soften a little bit. Let it soften a bit. most of the time when they start warming up, that tongue will try to drop a little bit. Whereas if we say keep the valve bright, it tends to lift up a little bit.
Where are you?
That's E and F sharp. All right? The same thing. Just keep. You don't want that tongue ever falling because it'll deaden it out. Instead, we want that ah. Then there's ways we can warm it back up, and I think we might get there, but we'll play. Up at an A above C. See, that one wasn't as strong. So you can do that to be nice and firm. Good. I want you to go ack, ack, ack.
Ack, ack, ack.
That's your starting place. This is that firm closure place, all right? Then what you're going to do is as you go up to that 3 is let the bottom layer peel apart. So you're going to hold your hands in front of you. You're going to do ah, bring them together. There we go. That, right? So we start firm and then you thin out just a little bit. All right, same thing again. Chest into it? Yeah, absolutely. So if we were in a lesson, I'd slow all this down. But being in a master class, we're going to keep it just kind of moving along, right? Just to be clear, like you and I, if we were in a voice lesson, I might just spend 20, 30 minutes helping you just work through all that and have you practice for the week, and then we would add on to the next layer, right? We're going to do the fast version. Okay. So you landed strong, but you began a little bit. Put your fingers together like that. Go ah. Go ack, ack.
Ack, ack.
There you go. Good. Now take the 1, 3, 5. There you go. Especially that way on the way down. Do that again. We're not trying to make pretty sounds, we're just trying to get that coordinated, heavy sound out. Don't try to start messing with it too much. Good. Just switch it. Good. So she was up on a D, and that's normal. That's where people are normally running into trouble. She's doing so well. I thought, let's see what's going on.
Yeah.
Especially since
Right
the
there.
song goes up to an E.
I know.
All right, so same thing. Four fingers at the beginning. When you get down on that bottom note right there, I feel like you just kind of let go when it's there. When you start, I almost feel like you're trying to start there, right? Just kind of let it go. You got that. That's really nice. So you do from that place. Good. I know when he's near the thunder. Sing that. I know when he's near the thunder. So let's do that using that Yep. So So we're just singing it on Good. So we're gonna try to see if we can get that to connect. Yep. In the chest one. All right. So do there. That's where it's gonna go. All right. Yeah. That's going where it's gonna need to go. Does that feel okay? All right. I know when he's near. I know that. I'm singing on the Yeah. Put your words into it. I know.
When he's near, by the thunder I hear in advance.
Yeah. You're working for that. Or that dance. When you're vocalizing it, you got it, girl. I do. That's that. It's the same pitch. You got it. Same thing. Advance. Advance. Right pitch. Advance. Yeah. Is that getting more of the chest sound you want in it?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Richard, can I have you play? Let's do this. I know he's around. I'm going to have you stand here just so I listen to music with you as well. So let's try starting from I know he's around in the sky. Try to use that from yourself.
I know when he's near, by the thunder.
So here, let's just use it. I know he's around when the sky and ground start ringing.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. It's not like I have a mixed mind up or anything. Right? Okay. Good. Speak, say, I know.
I know.
Just keep it simple. I know he's around in the sky.
I know he's around when the sky and the ground started ringing. I know when he's near, by the thunder I hear in advance. His words and his words alone are the words that can start my heart singing.
right? Because your triplets are kind of getting into how much you're wearing. And keep that full sound throughout this whole thing, okay? And
this is the only music that makes me dance. He'll sleep and he'll rise in the light of two eyes that adore him. For him it might, but he won't leave my side for a glance.
so you're reaching up for that one?
Yeah.
Dancing, glance.
Glance.
Yeah, that's all it is. Think of it, for you, think of it actually being warmer. Well, I want you to just put your hands like this and go. Yeah, that opens everything up in the back. Can you carry that chest voice up and go? There you go. Try to do that on glance. Where's that spot at? So this is called blowfish. All right, so let's blowfish it and do. Starting right on this bass drum. Okay? Do that again. Do it again. Take your hand away and sing the words.
Glance.
Can you get more of that blowfish feel in it? There, sing it in that spot.
Glance.
Yes. So that one had less of that beach thing to it. It's going to feel real weird. Alright? There you go. Let it rip.
Glance.
Yeah. You know, that's got less of that strain feel creeping up into here?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we want. Alright, let's keep going from there. In every.
In every way, every day, I need less of myself and need more of him.
Okay, so we're going to do this on this blowfish. Try to carry that same chest thing you did in the exercise, okay? Try it. Let's try to flip over a little bit, right? Let's do wow wow in first, and then we're going to round it back out. Wow 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 wow. What's that like?
Easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's your chest up into it. Yeah. It's good. Do that same thing again in every way. Wow wow. Yeah. Do it now with the words. We'll keep the words in the wow wow spot.
In every way, every day, I need less of myself and need more of him. 'Cause this is the only music that makes me dance.
Wow wow.
Wow,
Yeah, that's where your dance makes me wow. Yeah, then say, can you say that makes me wow?
that makes me
Wow. Yeah. That.
Yes.
That's it. Got it? Yes. Wow. Just make noise. Say wow.
Wow.
Right? You're in New York. You gotta get people's attention.
Wow. Yes. Hey.
Yes.
Hey.
All right. So this is the only.
'Cause this is the only music that makes me
mix that last little thing for now while you keep building up. And I'm saying that because when I was starting to carry her chest up, C sharp was pushing it, right? And that dance to C sharp, in a master class, we're playing around. Mind you, if I was back in my own studio, I'd probably slow this down a little bit, quite a bit, and then take time to build up to hitting that on a regular basis, and then continue working, right? So for you, what I would say is like maybe a couple weeks of doing those little glides instead of just going into a practice room and hammering this, right? Exercises are strategic planning for your voice. It's strategically starting to line things up to get you ready, whereas the songs are hoping that that stuff's on autopilot, right? So use that until you're starting to get to that place and then attack that on. I dropped the blowfish for you because it started to knock you more legit again, which happens, it tends to be what will happen. When we're doing this is, it comes from my friend Marcy Rosenberg, who's a speech-language pathologist. It's another version of a semi-occluded vocal tract exercise. The idea being that you're essentially trying to create an air pillow inside of the vocal tract to help things relax open instead of the wah-wah place, which allows things to narrow in, right? So if we're big doing wah-wah-wah-wah, going to wah-wah-wah-wah, the idea is to bring that depth back in, right? And so a lot of times what will happen though is if they've already been head mixing, once they start to feel that openness and that drop, it's just going to go back into that heady mix. So that's why I was like, nah, let's stay in the wah. I'd work her in the wah place until that was consistent, then go back to trying to add the blowfish in it to give her a warmer option as well, right? We know nasality helps people find belt because a slight veilopharyngeal port opening in the back releases some of the pressure on the vocal folds. We also know that singing through your nose can't get you cast very often, right? So it's a tool and a stepping stone from which we then want to start to try to open things up a bit, right? And then eventually we just want you to have enough flexibility that your actress drives the way instead of you having to think that there's only one way to do it, right? So what we say to our students at Shenandoah is there are a whole lot of ways to get a call back. Every voice teacher in this room is going to be able to teach somebody to get a call back on Broadway, okay? But the only students who are going to book the gig are the ones who are flexible enough to be able to do whatever the creative team says. When the creative team hands out the sides and starts saying, hey, I want you to do it this way, the student who can go, yep, bam, and does it is the one who's going to be more likely to get the gig, right? So that's why, like, to me, there's lots of possible sounds. I hear lots of great voice teachers making awesome sounds. Some I might not teach right away, or I might do later, but they're getting things to book, right? But as long as we keep playing and swinging the pendulum both ways, then you'll always be flexible enough to adapt to whoever's in front of you, okay? I think we do have like 5 minutes if you want to touch the other little bit of your other song. Can we do that real quick?
Yeah, let's touch it.
Oh, it's a Jason Robert Brown one. Yes. Yeah, do the ending spot where it goes up into that spot.
Whoops, I almost fell, Murray. The mother of your children splattered across Park Avenue in a bloody heap, Murray. And it's all your fault. Is it you who makes the money? Yes, it's you who makes the money. And it's you who owns the store. So if you don't want to spend it, that's your right. But it's you who bought the penthouse on the 57th floor. So good night, cheapskate, good night. You think I don't know about her? Well, I do, Murray. You think I don't know about that?
example too of why we want to have that flexibility to go between different sounds. Because this, you're doing really good at bringing more of that chesty sound into it.
Yeah.
But it ends up being one sound throughout the entire cut.
Yes.
And what's going to happen, anytime we get stuck in that one sound in the entire cut, your voice is going to start locking up into that one place. All right, so this is where we would want to allow it to be actor-driven and what I call spatial awareness. How far is the person from you that you're talking to allow that to mix it up. So I'll have you we're going to just one step down from the man who needs you. All right, so at this point in time, who are you talking to?
My husband.
Your husband. All right, and why are you saying this last 2 pages? Just one step down from the man. What's going on here? Just one step down from the man who...
I'm at my last wits. I'm gonna jump.
Okay, so now let's try this. And so she's at her last wits, I'm gonna jump, because you're saying you're gonna jump off the top of this apartment building, right? Instead of doing it and going, I'm gonna jump, I want you to be like, look, I'm at one last step and I'm going to jump. If you don't let me do this, and then by the high note it comes out.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that it starts more contained. This is your last chance. I'm telling you this is what I'm going to do, and then when you go up to the high, you let it come out. Let's see what that does.
So I'll give you 2 bars at the top.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to make him understand by bringing him into you instead of blasting him away.
Just one step down from the man who needs you. Fuck the fur, just sit it down to her. Over the well and glory, watch me
How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It made it easier to build into that, didn't
Yes,
it?
it did.
Good, yeah. Because the other thing, I call the other thing the Jersey Housewife School of Acting, okay? And my wife loves to watch that trash sometimes, and what I see on there is all the women are going, no, he didn't do that. They're all yelling at everyone like this. And then I see that creep into acting. Well, first of all, that throws your vocal tract out of whack. Jan can tell you everything else it does and makes a mess of it, okay? But the second of all, most people don't talk to others that way in normal everyday life, right? Instead, we're like, look, I'm telling you this is it. And then otherwise, you're out. So find your power, because I find like so many young actresses and actors, they try to find their power by giving themselves instead of saying, no, this is where I stand, this is what I have to say, and you're going to change, right? That's more powerful. And then let that power as an actor then draw the rest of it together, okay? So come over here, do it one last time, and bring us home before the break, okay? Just from that, from that saying, just one step down from the man who.
2 bars.
Yes. That was it, right?
2
That was
bars.
it. Sorry, guys.
And
Just one step down from the man who needs you. Fuck the fur, just sit it down to her. Over the well and Murray, watch me fly. Murray, oh, I'm serious, Murray.